Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Locked on Raptors. On today's show, I am joined by the wonderful Josh Hart of Yahoo Sports Canada, and we are taking your mailbag questions. It's becoming a bit of a Wednesday tradition here on the podcast throughout the offseason, and what's not to like about mailbag questions? We got lots of stuff ranging from Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes, Malachi Flynn, Dalano, Banton, a whole bunch of other dudes we're going to talk about. I think there's even a question about Andrea Bargnani, which is very fun as well. That's all coming up on today's episode of Locked on Raptors.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to episode number 1015 of Locked on Raptors for Wednesday, September the 8th. I'm your host, Sean Woodley of RaptorsHQ.com. You can find me on Twitter, as always, at WoodleySean. You can find the show at Locked on Raptors on Twitter. You can find links to every single episode there. And you can also find the podcast on all your favorite podcast providers, including YouTube, baby. We are here on video. Please subscribe to the page. We're nearing 600 subs on the YouTube page. Let's keep on pushing that number up. It's much appreciated. Tell a friend, even if you don't want to watch the thing on YouTube every day, just subscribe. It's very nice of you to do. So thank you in advance for taking the time. All right, on today's show, we are doing a mailbag episode as we've done the last couple of weeks here because it's the off season. And look, it's kind of easy. And also we get lots of great questions all the time. So why not go back to that content mine as much as we possibly can? And joining me to dive into your mailbag questions about Fred VanVleet's assist totals this season, Andrea Bargnani before his time, and a whole bunch more is the wonderful Josh Hart from Yahoo Sports. Josh, how's it going, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. You're such a pro at this. It's nice to be here. Right before we started recording, I mentioned that we must have met 11 years ago at Carleton University Frosh Week. It's remarkable to see how far we've come. Two titans of Raptors content. No, but it's awesome to see what you're building here. The YouTube looks great. I think it was a really wise move, and thank you again for having me. I'm excited to answer questions. It's become a mainstay of my Raptors content is hearing what every crank on Twitter has to say about what's going on with the team and telling them what I think. It is true that my father, Clifton from Etobicoke, frequent show caller to all of the sort of the Jeff Blair's shows from years past, has inspired me to take questions, and excited to continue the family tradition onto today.
Well, we're very happy to have you. You've taken questions with us on our green rooms recently as well during the season. Hopefully those will be back this year, and we'll get you worked in on those as well. They're always a ton of fun. And yeah, we are going to live on in the tradition of your father, Clifton, and take the questions from those, sending those in. I don't think we have one from Clifton on today's show, but we'll get one next time, Josh. I'll make sure we plant one in the audience next time you're on the show for mailbag questions. All right. Let's dig into some cues today. Lots of regulars sending in questions, a few new ones as well. Thanks to everyone who sent in questions. We won't get to all of them, but as always, it's always appreciated when you send them in. And I might start pulling YouTube comment questions as well. So if you want to send a question, I might just post like a short video prompt and just say, hey, this is where we're going to do mailbag questions for the next mailbag. And you can drop me in his YouTube comments too. So you could be part of the fun if you are not on the hell pit that is Twitter. All right, Josh, let's get into questions here. This first one comes from our pal, past and future guests. We got to get him on soon, actually. It's Freddie Rivas from the Confederacy of Dunks podcast. You'll hear me on there sometimes. Freddie's great. He asks, how many assists is Fred VanVleet going to average this season for your Toronto Raptors? Josh, I will put it to you first. Fred VanVleet assist total for this coming season. I believe last year he finished just around 6 a game. Yes. So what do you got here? What do you think? Is there going to be a tangible change into the way you think he runs the offense? Is he going to absorb a bunch of Kyle Lowry's assists? What are you thinking here for a assist total for Fred VanVleet, which will probably be one of our over-unders when we do our over-unders podcast with Vivek and Sahal in a few weeks' time?
I don't think that Fred VanVleet's going to average many more assists. I don't think that he has he's not found the sort of Kyle Lowry pocket passing grift yet. So I don't think he's going to, like, Kyle Lowry in so many of his performances was able to nail Bismack Biyombo or Kem Birch this season on the roll with that sort of excellent pocket pass. I'm not sure Fred has introduced enough creativity in his passing to this game. I think the major development we're going to see is the floater that he's relentlessly promoted on his Instagram this summer. But I don't know, like, does he get to 8 a game because he's just he's not going to play many more minutes. He's already at 37 minutes a game. I'm not sure that his offense has changed that much as a playmaker. I think that the biggest boost in assists a game is going to come from guys like OG and Pascal, who are just going to have the ball a lot more.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I would probably pencil him in to be around the same as last year too. And, you'd think, oh, well, Kyle Lowry's gone. And that means, Fred's going to be on the ball more. If you recall, Fred's on the ball a lot, regardless of who's on the floor. And that's kind of been a sticking point for a lot of Raptors fans is Fred handles the ball too much. He should be off ball, making use of his off ball gravity and stuff. And, with the heavy offensive burden he carried last season, still just 6.3 assists a game. That's not like anything to sneeze at or anything like that. But I think you factor in that Goran Dragic is probably going to be on the floor quite a bit before he gets dealt inevitably before the deadline. Malachi Flynn, I think if you're sort of doing the logic of if you're going to play the 2-point guard lineup and play Flynn with Fred and maybe have Dragic run the second unit sometimes, or, in between lineups, whatever it might be, I think you could actually do the sort of, hey, Malachi should be on the ball over Fred thing as well, just because Malachi does have a bit more juice getting downhill, can get to the rim, can finish at the rim a little bit better. It doesn't have the mid-range game or just the overall sort of offensive repertoire that Fred has. The pull-up threes are coming, hopefully. But, I think you're going to see a lot of different guys handle the ball. And to your point, like Pascal averaged 5 assists a game nearly last season. I would expect we'll see a bit of an uptick there, especially as the team's 3-point shooting probably improves just by having fewer bad shooters on the floor. I mean, how many extra assists would Pascal have picked up last year if he wasn't throwing balls to Stanley Johnson in the corner, right? So I think, and then OG, obviously, I think we're going to see an uptick in his usage and just take the ball out of Fred's hands a little bit more. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think about 6.5. Maybe he creeps up to 7 if he, kind of adopts more of an on-ball role. We'll see. Maybe just the fact that he'll have big men to pass to could affect it, that it's his total as well. Precious Achiuwa as a lob threat, that type of stuff. But I think you're right on the money, right around where he was last season. Let's continue on here. Next question here comes from our pal Trilly Mo Pena, our pal Simon, one of my favorite Twitter handles in the entire world. Shout out to Willie Mo Pena, the greatest player in MVP baseball 2005. I think something like a 99 power against lefties. Beautiful stuff. Trilly Mo Pena asks, should I spend the season paying more attention to wins and losses or to the development of individual players? We've talked a lot about expectations on this show, Josh, and sort of what to look for going into this year. How are you approaching this season as a fan? Are you looking at wins and losses? Are you riding and sort of living and dying with the playoff seeding, or are you more into watching the individual guys and how they come along in this kind of transitional season?
I like none of the above. The number one thing I'm looking for from this Toronto Raptors team is content creation. I want to see as many videos of Dalano, Banton, Scotty Barnes, the return of OG Anunoby. I just, this team will serve vibes, and that'll be fun to have them back in town. The playoffs are going to be weird. Like, every 2 days, it seems, I learned that the Nets are acquiring or dumping somebody who's over 35 to their team. Like, it's just sort of the arms race at the top of the conferences seems so like stupid that just enjoying this team for what they are will be the thing that I hopefully leave the season with. It'll be nice to see if Pascal's able to return to some sort of his sort of class that he's shown before. I think that last season in the bubble, yada yada yada, we know all about it. It'd be cool to see Pascal Siakam be named an all-star starter, and that's about my only expectation for this season. That would be delightful. If Pascal Siakam can start, and it'll be tough because it's like Kevin Durant that he has to like compete with. But if he can start in the all-star game, that'll be awesome. Anything else, like I'm hoping that Malachi Flynn has a good season so we can get lots of Raptor Nation tweets or Facebook posts. But I don't know. Above all else, just enjoy that this team's back. It has been, a season and a half of, not being able to see this, team in front of the Scotiabank crowd. And I'm looking forward to being in that building.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, you sounded tongue in cheek when you first said it, but I do think like the vibes are very much a thing to watch this season because there were none last year. There were negative vibes last
Yeah.
year, and just the return to Toronto, I think, is going to just sort of have a lot of optimism and glee kind of tied to it. And sort of adding to that, I would say, yeah, don't worry so much about the wins and losses this season because one of two things is going to happen. Either the Raptors are going to, have a pretty successful season, make a play in, maybe they surprise and become a 6th seed, and it's a wonderful overshooting of expectations. I think right now their Vegas win total is at like 36.5. Or they struggle, they lose some games, and they get another lottery pick, and you kind of run it back again next season. Or you make some tough calls in the offseason about your core, depending on how things go here, and it kind of sets the team off into a new direction. I don't think wins and losses are how this season should be judged or measured or anything like that. I think just kind of enjoying the ride. And the development is super important to what the future is going to be too, right? Like, get invested in Scotty Barnes and every time he takes a jump shot. Get invested in OG Anunoby and that, his ability to, increase or level up his usage and maintain that efficiency. And if he's doing that, then, the future looks a whole lot more interesting for damn sure. So yeah, it is a good mix of things to watch for. And, if you want to be, tied to the wins and losses, I'm not here to tell you how to be a fan, but that might be the way in which this season becomes a little disappointing. But if you're not worried about the wins and losses and they win 46 games anyway, then you're laughing. And it's just been a wonderful sort of overshooting of expectations, kind of low stakes, fun season, which is my favorite kind of season, frankly. As much as winning titles and being a contender is nice, it's kind of fun to have no expectations really going in. And you're just kind of happy with whatever comes to pass, unless it's a COVID season where everything goes to hell like it did last year. Josh,
the number one thing to hope about is if OG Anunoby can break 20 points a game, that's the only thing that you should care about.
Yep.
Will OG Anunoby go up at, I think he averaged 16 points a game? If he can get to 20, we throw the parade. That's the only thing to tie your hopes to this season.
The most muted and monotone parade of all time, all sort of grays and charcoals in the color scheme, and everyone wears a scarf solemnly to watch OG Anunoby just walk around Scotiabank Arena celebrating his 20 points a game. Josh, we're going to get to a few more questions here coming up in just a second, including a hypothetical one that's pretty fun about players who are not on the Raptors who would like to be on the Raptors one day. We'll get to that in one sec here. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Sweat Block. I don't know about you, Josh, but I sweat a lot. It's a tough thing, and it's hard to talk about sometimes. You don't feel terribly comfortable just like going out and acknowledging how sweaty you are. But guess what? Sweatblock is here to help. They have a dry shirt guarantee. If Sweatblock doesn't keep you dry, you get your money back. And you may be asking, what is Sweatblock, Sean? What are you talking about? Well, guess what? They bring antiperspirant wipes, deodorant, a whole bunch of other stuff to the game, and they are wonderful. Sweatblock is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You can simply apply it at night before bedtime, go to bed, and the next morning you wake up, wash, and go about your day without worrying about sweat, guaranteed. I know it sounds too good to be true, but I am a Sweatblock customer, and it works. It's wonderful. Just use it once or twice a week. It keeps you dry the whole time. No more pitting out, no more picking your shirts based on which one will hide the sweat better. If you or somebody you love deals with excessive sweating, you got to check out Sweatblock. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com or with the promo code Locked On or at Amazon and CVS. Today's show is also brought to you by Direct TV Stream. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another lets you stream your favorite shows, you watch sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the really good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle in one spot, and that is with Direct TV Stream. Get it together. Get your TV together, that is. Brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with Direct TV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. All right, Josh, let's continue on here. Another mailbag question comes in from our pal Eric Morris at Epic Moppus on Twitter. And the question is there a player who you've always wanted on the Raptors, even though there's no realistic chance of that ever happening? I guess we can include stars in this, maybe not like uber duper super, just like finals MVP level stars, but like, let's cap it at like a couple all-star appearances at the most and sort of go from that group. Josh, a player out there who you've always wanted on the Raptors who has never landed. And please, please, please do not say Kenneth Faried.
Oh gosh, man, I remember those days on Real GM. No, the guy that I've always wanted to be a Raptor who never was, and it's not an All-Star at all. Anthony Tolliver. I've just like
Ooh.
I don't know. There's something about him that's like, yeah, this guy could be Patrick Patterson without the massive fall off. Like he just seemed steady, knew how to be a professional, kind of guys who just, show up because it's their job and they are good at their job. They're not going to be too demanding. He's quite old now, so like if you're thinking of his stint with Memphis, don't. But I don't know, I just always liked it. I always thought he was like a pretty good player. There are other guys too, like Anthony, sort of Wayne Ellington. I always liked. I thought that he seems cool. He was the right kind of. He had kind of the Marcus Smart thing where you hate him because he's playing against your team, but you know that if he was a Raptor, you'd love him to death.
Yeah.
Kent Bazemore kind of gives me the same vibe. And the last guy, Josh Okogie, I love that guy. I remember seeing him. I was at the game where Kawhi made the block behind his back against the Timberwolves a few years ago. But Josh Okogie was like the guy on the Timberwolves. I mean, Karl Towns had a bad game. Andrew Wiggins refused to play against the Raptors. But Josh Okogie was awesome. Like I think it hasn't really happened for him, but I think he like tons and tons of bounce, really exciting player. Those are the guys that came to mind for me that I'd love to see be Raptors one day.
That's a good one. I took a bit of a different approach to this question and kind of thought about guys who almost were on the Raptors, but because of their own stupidity, they didn't end up on the Raptors. And I think number one is probably Andre Iguodala, drafted one spot after Rafa Araujo. And my whole theory all throughout time has been that if the Raptors draft Iguodala and go forward with a team of Iguodala, Vince Carter, Chris Bosh, Vince Carter never asks out, and the Raptors maybe win a title in one of those weird mid-2000s seasons where there wasn't really a team that was kind of like the class of the league outside of, I guess, the Spurs, who kind of won intermittently. But do the Raptors maybe win the 06 finals? Maybe that's a little bit early with Bosh and a little bit early with Iguodala, but do they make it past that Wade and Shaq team with all the old dudes on it? Who knows? Yeah. Maybe or do they beat the 2009 Orlando Magic to make it to the finals and beat that sort of Kobe and Pau centered Lakers team that I guess was quite good, but maybe not quite good enough to beat Iguodala, Bosh, and Carter all in their 2009 peak. Just an idea. I don't know. That's one that really kind of
that's a really good sliding doors moment.
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy that the second most mad I've ever been about a draft pick was not similar, and I was not right about it in hindsight, but I was apoplectic when they took Jonas Valanciunas over Brandon Knight. Pretty glad that they did what they did there.
Wasn't Brandon Knight working out for the Mavs last week or something ridiculous?
Something cursed like that. So they don't want to trade Josh Green and Dwight Powell for Goran Dragic, but they're going to work out Brandon Knight. Okay, sure, that works. Good question, Epic Moppus. We'll get to the next one here. This one comes from Darth Lean @_Darth Lean _. There were two questions in Darth Lean's initial question to me. The first one was, why do I never know what day it is when I'm recording the podcast? The answer to that is because time is fake. But Darth Lean asks, what are 3 realistic changes the team or individual players could make that would make the team a lock for a 10 through 5 or a 5 through 10 seed in the Eastern Conference? So looking at the play-in or the lower part of the playoff picture in the East. So 3 changes. I don't know if you want to go with this from a team perspective or if you want to go with this from an individual player perspective, kind of mishmash, but I'll leave it to you, Josh. Where do you want to go with this one? 3 changes the Raptors can make to lock themselves into a playoff spot.
So I think they're it's one, a front court rotation that doesn't include Aaron Baines.
Yep.
Check. Can Fred VanVleet and the now internet famous floater he's been working on make him a reliable threat going downhill to sort of make the half court offense, to add a tool to a half court offense that's sort of sputtered at times the last 2 years? That's another one. And can the new and improved bench live up to the right now inflated expectations that we have? I think that people are now expecting Precious Achiuwa and Malachi Flynn to be, something that they probably won't be, but who knows?
Sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it'll be great. But those are the three things that I think you look at. Like, can Kem Birch and who's their current backup center? Has it
Achua.
been? Is there some Achua? Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, can the center rotation make sense? Can the bench be a bench in the style that Raptors fans are hoping for? And can Fred VanVleet replace some of the half court offense floor raising that we're losing with Kyle Lowry? Because those will if those three things hit, this team will be good.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to the question, like I think they're pretty. I wouldn't say they're locked in. I think we talked about it yesterday with Chris Manning on the pod, talking about the Eastern Conference. Like anywhere from 7 to 12 wouldn't terribly surprise me, but I think I'd be more surprised if they, fell below 10 than I would be if they, I think I would be surprised if they didn't make it in. Yeah, like I think they will be a play-in team, whether it's hosting one or not. I think that's kind of their range, but I think to make them a lock, I would say, well, one is something that's likely going to happen anyway, is don't play in Tampa anymore. That probably will help things a little bit. Having just like home court advantage back seems like it'll be pretty useful for the team. So that's number one. It's kind of a cop-out, but I think it actually, is kind of the number one thing. Number two, I would say, boy, you make a good point about Fred and sort of diversifying where he scores from. And if he can kind of, maybe not necessarily score at the rim, because I don't know if it's totally fair to expect a 6-foot dude who doesn't really have much of a vertical to become a great scorer at the rim. But if he can kind of add to that mid-range game, figure out the floater, score from that 6 to 8 to 10 sort of foot range pretty effectively, then I think that changes things quite a bit for them. And I guess the other thing is OG Anunoby levels up and is like a guy you can kind of run an offense through. Will it be totally refined in year one of him kind of taking that role? Absolutely not. But can he, keep that efficiency the same way it's been? The true shooting percentage is over 60. That's probably going to come down a little bit. Maybe high 50s is what you're hoping for, is like a low bar for it to fall. But he's shown, in spurts, at least at the back part of last year before he ended up missing the rest of the season with injury, COVID, whatever it was. I think we saw quite a bit of promising signs in terms of how he can sort of scale up that usage and maintain the efficiency. So if he can kind of do that over a larger scale and a larger time, that is going to really kind of give the Raptors a lot more juice in the half court. And those are my three. Go ahead. Do you have
an idea that I'm now thinking about? Can you imagine all of the Raptors post-game podcasts, yours, Will's, Samson's, everybody, if the Raptors lose the 7-8 game and have to play in the 9-10 game,
oh my God,
it's going to be just like vibes. We haven't seen vibes this bad since they lost game 1 against Orlando. And not that I'm hoping it'll happen or expecting it to, but if this does happen, and if the Raptors lose the first play-in game, God, it'll be, if they're and they're the 7th seed. If they lose to the 8th seed and have to beat the winner of the 9-10 game, just chef's fist. I can't wait. I really would like to see it.
Well, I think I know how the podcasts would go, because we all kind of have our lanes, right? Like Will would be very morose. He would be very like everything is over. Samson would probably very intelligently break down the next matchup with someone smart and kind of get into the X's and O's. And then I would say, it's fine, they're going to win. And actually, they want to play the 1 seed as opposed to the 2 seed, actually. So it's actually a good thing that this went down. We've all got our spots, our roles to fill. And we do it admirably here in the Raptors podcast community. Josh, we're going to finish up in just a sec here, get to a few more questions, all from one listener who sent in like 20 questions. We've chosen 3 because we just can't fit 20 questions into a show, but those are coming up on the other side in just 1 second here. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Built Bar, who are making the best tasting protein bars in the land. They have 9 amazing flavors in their staple lineup, including cherry barcia, which is very good, mint brownie, which is my favorite, orange, which is quite good as well, cookies and cream, German chocolate cake. They have an endless variety for you. Well, it's not endless. They have 9, plus a bunch of limited time flavors that appear from time to time on the site too. If you don't know which flavor you want the most and you want to try all of them, you can get a mixed box with 2 of each of the 9 flavors, and then you can choose which one you'd like to order a full box of, or a full crate of, or whatever vessel of size of Built bars you would like to order of after you've got that mixed box. Of course, you can check out the macros of all of these bars and be very impressed. 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. All great flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Give you the illusion of a candy bar without actually being an unhealthy mess of a candy bar. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you get 15% off your order. That's the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at betonline.ag. It's that time of year, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this year. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive a 100% welcome bonus with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's an incredible deal. You throw in $100, you get $200 to play with to start the season. That's a wonderful way to begin your betting campaign. Be sure to take advantage of their opening day super promo as well. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using the promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, from football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite casino games. Don't wait and take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 season at betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Josh, let's round this out. A few questions came in from listener Cameron Hilton, who sent in, as I said, about 20 questions, all very appreciated. We can't get to all of them here, but let's get to a few. The first one from Cam is, if I were Nick Nurse, I would lock Scotty Barnes into a film room and make him only watch Magic Johnson and Draymond Green film. Who would you make Malachi Flynn and Dalano Banton watch in this hypothetical torture chamber of a film room where you're only watching one player over and over again on a loop? Let's start with Malachi Flynn, Josh. Who in the NBA would you like Malachi Flynn to watch in order to inform his game going forward?
Oh, that's a good question.
It is.
Who would? I don't like the pick and roll offense. I think is the thing, but the stuff that I would love him to do is to be more of an Etuan Moore type, guy off the bench who will just terrorize an opponent with pull up threes and pick and pop threes.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that he gets there? Maybe, but that would be the stuff, and also maybe just the Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry point of attack tape, just so that he can. I'm not sure how quickly he will arrive at the stuff that those guys did to play this sort of great Raptors point guard defense, but I'm going to miss it. So I would like for it. The thing that was so awesome about Fred VanVleet's maturation on this team wasn't just the great 3-point shooting in the playoffs, but it was that he became an excellent point guard at the point of attack for an offense. So if he can do those things, even badly, would be exciting. Those are the things that I'd like to see him do. If he can do the sort of herky-jerky Etuan Moore stuff, as well as become a guy who can pick the pocket of a point guard reliably, that'd be awesome. Those are the kinds of things that get me off my couch or get me on my feet in Scotiabank Arena, or get guys stars on Will's podcast. So those are the things I'd like to see Malachi develop.
Yeah,
and Banton, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get to Banton in a sec. Yeah, I'll drop my Malachi guy right now. And look, I'm going to aim high here. I'm not saying Malachi Flynn is ever going to be this player, but I think this type of player would be a very useful type of player for the Raptors to have. Someone who can kind of come in and just sort of explode off the bench with multi-level scoring. I would say go watch Donovan Mitchell, what he does in the playoffs and how he just kind of takes over that Jazz offense. You don't always need it, and obviously he's never going to do it on the scale or the grandeur of Donovan Mitchell because Donovan Mitchell's amazing, but that kind of guy where it's yes, you can play point guard and kind of set guys up, but also you kind of know when it's time for you to score. That would be kind of handy, because I do think we'll see times when Flynn's out there with the second unit or the first unit, frankly, where things aren't working in the half court. It's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit sort of sticky, and Flynn could be that guy who can kind of open things up just on his own because he's got good, got a good first step. He's got an ability to get to the basket. That would be kind of nice. And he's also got the pull-up three that he's kind of working on as well. I think he was good from pull-up threes, but terrible on catch and shoots in summer league, if I recall, which if you're going to choose which one to be good at, it's the pull-up threes to me. So that would be one. The other would be like Colin Sexton, maybe, less sexy than Donovan Mitchell, but you can never have enough guys who can just go get you a bucket. And I think of the guards on the Raptors, he's probably the guy who profiles of having the highest upside there. As much as I like Gary Trent Jr., I don't know if he's ever going to have the explosiveness to get to the basket regularly. He might just be a catch and shoot guy with the weird herky jerk mid-range game. And then Fred, I think we kind of know what Fred is mostly at this point, and that's more of a facilitating point guard who can also score when he needs to. Give me Malachi Flynn, microwave scorer dude, and have him go watch Colin Sexton and Donovan Mitchell. Delano Banton, yeah, this is a weird one because maybe not a single weirder player in the Raptors' long history of weird players. And we've seen him for like 4 summer league games. And I've already come to this very accurate conclusion. Josh, who should Delano Banton watch? You said you had no idea before. You got a minute there while I vamped to think of somebody. Who do you got?
The guy that would be coolest for him to develop into is like a Sean Livingston type. I'm not sure if that happens, but just a big, strong guard who can, if he really managed to figure out he never figured out the three, which I don't think Banton's going to, but he became a pretty decent scorer. So that would be the guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the Sean Livingston tape stands to teach anyone, but
yeah.
If he's able to arrive at that kind of productivity on 20 minutes a game, that'd be a pretty good career. Like Livingston played for 15 years or something. So
yeah,
that'd be the guy that I fantasize of him becoming.
I like that one a lot. That's a really good pick. Tall point guard, maybe like he becomes a maestro of 17-foot mid-rangers like Sean Livingston did, sort of the counter to whatever that team was doing with its 3-point heaviness. That's a really good one. Also an excellent defender. So good pick there. Yeah. I was going to go with a Raptors favorite, DeLon Wright. He's like a taller DeLon Wright in that he's slithery and weird and herky-jerky, and I have no idea which way his body's going to move from any position he's standing in, and it's great. I love it. DeLon Wright got so good at kind of like slithering to the basket and, using his deft touch and his handle to kind of overcompensate for the fact that he wasn't like the quickest guy in the world. And I think that would be a great dude for Banton to watch. Also, anyone who can, replicate DeLon Wright finishes around the basket is someone who I'm going to like watching. So I think a little invested in someone having those DeLon Wright finishes. Why not make it Delano Banton?
I'm wondering which franchise Delano Banton's going to develop a very enduring beef with, because he can't. Like, I'm sure he hates the Celtics. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Wizards. I have a feeling because he's a little younger. Couple playoff series against the Wizards, mm-hmm. and DeLon Wright also hated the Wizards, so that'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Any Wizards beef. Delano Banton. Just watch the tape of DeLon Wright screaming at Kelly Oubre after beating them in Game 6. Next question here comes from, again, Cameron Hilton, who asks, if you were Vegas, where would you set the betting line on Toronto having its next 50-win season? 3 seasons, less, more? How many years until the Raptors once again hit the 50-game mark after hitting it, I believe, was it 5 years in a row? 6 years in a row? There's a lot of years in a row.
I think it'll be the season after next or not for some time. So they're either going to build effectively in the next year and then the season after next be good, or they have to scrap the team. So that's it. If I'm Vegas, I set the line for the 22-23 season.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this season's going to tell us a lot about the core that they have, and if they win 28 games, you're probably right in that some big changes will come in the form of likely Siakam and Fred going out the door. I'm on the side of, I think they're going to kind of make it work this season and have a surprisingly effective year, and we'll see some nice development from dudes, and you'll see the sort of glimpses of what Scotty Barnes can be. And I think 22-23, at the very latest 23-24, I would say is kind of when I'd put it. So less than 3 years for sure. But if things go awry this season, then certainly you're looking at something a little bit more upsetting, probably. Let's go. Final question here, once again, from Cameron Hilton, who asks, if Bargnani arrived now, would he thrive? Was Andrea Bargnani ahead of his time, Josh Hart?
Yes, but that guy, I don't know. I think he kind of just like was a sucky dude. Like
Yeah. He didn't care.
Yeah, maybe he would have been okay, but did it seem like he really wanted to figure it out? I don't see it. But no disrespect. Enjoy. Hopefully, you're doing well. He's probably in his mid-30s now. So, but I don't know. Yeah, Bargnani may have had a lot more leash if he came into the league today, and an offense could have done something with him. And maybe he was really disillusioned early on, and that sort of set him up to fail as a pro. But I don't know. Did I believe in him? Not particularly.
No, that's the thing is like, it's not like he was a bad NBA player when he was kind of in his first little peak, right? I guess it was his only peak, but like he had some really nice seasons. He was on an all rookie team. He, was kind of the first stretch five outside of Dirk in a lot of ways. Like that stuff actually happened. He just was non-committal on defense, couldn't rebound, and just clearly didn't seem to care about much. And I don't know if you kind of bank on that personality. That guy has lots of other things going on. If you remember his Instagram profile that Katie and I did a big episode on a few years ago, the 10 different occupations he held, including astronaut and chef and a whole bunch of other things. He has lots of other irons in the fire beyond basketball. And I think that would have been the case even today. That said, I love Andrea Bargnani. I share a birthday with Andrea Bargnani. I send him an Instagram happy birthday message every day on our birthday. He has not yet responded. Hopefully 2021 is the year, although we've kind of disparaged him on this podcast. So hopefully he doesn't watch this and then accept my Instagram DM on his and our birthday. Josh, that's going to do it for today's show. Huge thank you to everybody who sent in questions. Special thank you to Cameron, who sent in 20 questions and gave us the entire final segment's worth of questions. So thank you there. If we didn't get to your question, it's still very appreciated when you send them in. So please continue to do so. Josh, where can people find you? Thanks for being on the show, man. This was lovely.
Yeah, I'm at not Josh Hart on Twitter. I will be contributing. You'll see me, Yahoo Sports Canada, sometime. And if you can see me, playing a rec soccer this fall for Jam in TSSC. So pull up.
Are you replacing our pal Vivek Jacob on his team? Is that what's going on here?
No, I'm not. Okay. I could not. There is no replacing Vivek on the Score FC. But no, me and Will played on a team this summer. We finished second, which was pretty good. First real season.
Beautiful.
That was great. We're running it back this fall with a different rec league. We do the Stanley suggestions on Will and my show. Really and truly, I do recommend that if you can do it, sign up for rec sports. Like it's been great. Like with all of the restrictions on what you can do inside, and fewer of them on what you can do outside. Like it's just awesome to kick a ball around with your pals.
Yeah, I filled in on a softball team on Friday, and it was an absolute delight. I missed it deeply, even though my legs were very sore afterwards because I have not run in a very long time. I've been biking a lot, but apparently it's entirely different muscles, and so I was in traction after playing softball for one day, but that's okay because I had fun with friends. By the way, shout out to our pal Vivek. He is on the comeback trail, 6 months until he's playing sports again. We will have him back on the podcast very soon. He just can't move right now, and I think is looking rather scraggly and not cut out for video at the moment. So we'll get him on once he can, take a shower and shave and all that stuff. But we love Vivek. Glad to hear that there's no surgery for him. It's been the injury news that I care about in all sports recently here. So that will do it. Thank you as always, Josh. This was wonderful, and we will talk to you, the listeners, again. Either Thursday or Friday. Not entirely sure just yet. Working on the schedule for the next episode we'll drop, but we'll have one more this week. And we come back to daily in 3 weeks' time. The 27th, I believe. The 28th will be the first day of our daily schedule for the upcoming season. That should be wonderful as well. Until then, please subscribe, rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube page. It's always appreciated. Tell a friend about the podcast, and you can go listen to one of our other wonderful podcasts across the Locked On Network, including Locked On Bets. If you are looking to get into sports betting, maybe through our friends Bet Online this year, Locked On Bets is great. They have daily wonderful features, including, wrong team favorite picks and lock of the day, all that stuff. Go check out Locked On Bets if you're gearing up for the betting season as football comes closer. We'll talk to you again later this week with another episode of Locked On Raptors. Bye-bye.